Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious, and don't call me Shirley.
Welcome back to the College Cinephile. Our guests today are here to discuss the upcoming Flatland Film Festival starting from October 19th to the 21st. The first is the Texas Tech Associate Professor and Department Chair of Journalism and Electronic Media. He is the co-chair of the Flatland Film Festival and the creator of the College Cinephile. The second is the Texas Tech Instructor of Journalism and Electronic Media. He is the General Manager of Texas Tech Public Media, and he's also a co-chair of the Flatland Film Festival. And he's also an Emmy Award-winning nonfiction filmmaker. They both have more titles than that, but if we tried to fit them in, we would run out of teleprompter space. Respectively, they are Dr. Rob Peaslee and Paul Hunton. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. There are so many film festivals out there. Just like, if you just do a quick Google search, there's just hundreds, if not thousands, of film festivals. So what makes Flatland in particular special and unique among the rest of them?
I think the local angle, we really spend a lot of time thinking about how we want to impact not only our local film fans, the people that are going to come, but also our local filmmakers, and really engaging with the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's no secret that Lubbock is not the sort of place that people flock to for a film festival. It's just not what people think about when they think about West Texas. But there are people in this area who are not only interested in film, but are also interested in making film. And so we try to champion those people and foster the next generation of filmmakers to come from this area.
Were you guys a part of its infancy, or was it something you just kind of
Rob's been around longer, but I don't think either of us were here from the start.
No, it's 14 years old, and I started with the festival in 2009, so about 8 years ago.
Was it something that was just rather small that you guys kind of just took and expanded it into something that's
it's always been under the umbrella of LUCA, the Louise Hopkins Underwood Center for the Arts, so it's always been sort of under their programming umbrella. I started out just simply as a volunteer one year taking tickets, and the next year they asked if I wanted to judge films, and then I think the next year I was on the programming committee, and then I was the chair of the programming committee. And I think the next year Paul agreed to join us. So yeah, it's been kind of an interesting, quick, I guess, evolution. And it's been a lot of fun. I think we both have a lot of fun, and we get a lot out of the whole process of kind of giving back to the community and trying to build something.
So in terms of picking films, because is it similar to how film festivals work, or maybe what's the differences in how the films are kind of judged, for student filmmakers who want kind of the behind the scenes perspective of how these film festivals are operated?
Well, when you think about a film festival like Sundance or South by Southwest, these large festivals with big names, the filmmakers go to them, and there's a submission process, and they have such prestige that they get obviously top tier Hollywood and international filmmakers who want to debut there because it's such a large space. And so asking if our situation is typical, it's not typical in that regard. But where we do see that, and it's starting to grow even more so, is in our shorts program. We have a submission process. And we went from, at one point, film festival submissions, as you can imagine, not even that long ago, was send a film on a DVD and hope that they pick it. And then there became a portal called Without a Box, which is an online portal to where you could still send a DVD early on in Without a Box. Now you can just send a Vimeo link. And so the amount of submissions just grew exponentially. And in my first year that Rob asked me to come and join the programming committee, I think there was 5 or 6 of us, and we each watched 40 films from all over the world. And we got some high quality films that were fun to watch. But the shorts program, when we would have the screening, we wouldn't have a lot of people there. And so we had a really good discussion 2 years ago, and we said, let's switch that up, and we don't mind getting submissions from a wider area, but let's really focus in and hammer down on letting our presence be known to local filmmakers, including students here at Texas Tech, but also regional filmmakers, the Dallas, Austin area, try to get them engaged. So it created partnerships with the Austin Film Society, and also advertising at the Texas Film Commission and having them having some buy-in with what we're doing. And so we've seen just in the last 2 years, the amount of work here locally or regionally be submitted just go up. and the quality go up. And then in return, we've sold out those screenings every year, I think. And so it's been a really good return. Now well, talk about the feature process and how we cultivate that.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of try to maintain two kind of brand identities with our feature programming. One is the local angle still. So when we scout for feature films, one of the main places we go is South by Southwest. The timing is right because if stuff premieres down in Austin in March, by the time October rolls around when our festival takes place, it's kind of probably on the end of its festival run. And it's a good time for a smaller festival like ours to try to make the case of, hey, we'd love to be on your radar. Would you come and screen the film? And they have they have a local focus at South by as well. They have a whole segment of their selections that's dedicated to Texas filmmaking. And the other thing that we try to focus on, because it plays really well in Lubbock, is the relationship between film and music. And they also have a subsection of their film program called 24 frames per second.
Okay.
Or 24 beats per second.
That's right, beats.
Yeah, 24 beats per second. And it's that's the focus of it is films about or using or in some relationship to music. So when we go down to South by every year, part of what we're doing is looking for films that'll play well in Lubbock, that we're excited about, that provide kind of a nice mix of styles and formats and so forth for our audience, but that don't go too far from those two kind of core identities.
Do you think you can give us like the specifics, like sort of like the lineup of what we can expect at Flatland in the coming week?
Sure, yeah. Well, do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so we're real excited about this. I've had a long-time connection to, my dad actually grew up and is best friends with the guy who directed the Austin Powers franchise and the Meet the Parents franchise, and he's just a big name director. His name's Jay Roach, and we've been trying to get him down here every year, and he's always in production on something. But this year, I think the stars are going to align, and so it's also happens to be the 25th year anniversary. Is
20th.
It? 20th, sorry. I'm 5 years ahead of us. It's the 20th anniversary, 97. It's the 20th year anniversary of Austin Powers. So that opening night, we're going to have a Q&A with Jay, as well as a screening of the first Austin Powers film. And it's kind of the perfect time for it. I think it's one of those films that has, it took over popular culture for a good 2 or 3 years, or, well, I guess even longer because there were 3 of those films. And then it's kind of faded away, and it's a little bit forgotten. And so I think bringing it back, and Jay has some great stories about how that film got made and how he got involved in it, because he was nobody. And then next thing you know, Mike Myers is asking him to direct this. And at the time, Mike Myers was just sort of an SNL. He'd done a few movies, but nothing major. And then Austin Powers was just a cultural.
Was it Wayne's World before?
Yeah, he had done Wayne's World. So he had done some film work, but nothing just as major as what Austin Powers ended up doing, which took the world by storm. So we're going to open with that on Thursday night.
Friday night we'll be at Alamo Drafthouse for the whole program. We're going to start with a screening of Paul's film, Between Earth and Sky, with, of course, Paul will be there, and then Catherine Hayhoe, who's a climate scientist here in our political science department, will be in attendance as well, and they'll do a Q&A after the film. That'll be followed by the shorts program, the local shorts, and then we'll have a filmmaker reception at the Alamo Drafthouse bar area called the Glass Half Full. And then we'll have our midnight screening at Alamo as well, which is a new sort kind of horror comedy, black comedy called Tragedy Girls, and that's a regional premiere for that film. It's going to release on a limited basis that weekend, but it'll be the first screening here in Lubbock. And then Saturday we're going to be doing some screenings during the day at Luca, including a new documentary that Paul's colleague, Jonathan Seaborn, directed about Louise Hopkins Underwood, who's the namesake for the Art Center, who just passed away this year. And then another film that Paul was involved in as a producer called Through the Repellant Fence.
Yes, which we're really excited about that. It's a documentary that has some Texas Tech ties, and that's how we got involved at Texas Tech Public Media. One of the subjects of the film is Texas Tech's Land Arts program, which is headed up by Chris Taylor, which is a remarkable, one-of-a-kind. I think there's only 2 in the country, 2 universities that even have programs. And essentially it's a semester abroad in your own backyard, and Chris takes a group of students from any department really, but it's usually art, architecture, or anthropology, and they go for a semester through the American West looking at land art. And director Sam Wainwright Douglas started following Chris in that program, and then in that found these artists working under the collective name of Post Commodity, doing a land art piece called The Repellant Fence across the Douglas, Agua Prieta, Mexico-American border. And so it profiles that. It's a really interesting film, and it's timely. You know, it's a border film. It talks a lot about border issues, but then how artists and others are approaching these sort of political situations by making art that addresses those situations. So it's a really good film. And then we'll have The Secret Life of Lance Letcher, is that right? Mm-hmm. Which is one that I saw at South by Southwest, going back to the idea of we see stuff at South by. It's a really great film about a local artist in Austin, and it's a profile of him and his work and his life, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful film.
And he's going to actually be in town for First Friday this month.
Okay.
Because we're, in addition to having that film at Luca, we're also going to have an exhibit of his work on display while the...
Can you briefly explain what First Friday is for those who don't know?
Yeah, the First Friday Art Trail, which is produced out of Luca, but really encompasses the whole sort of downtown cultural district where people sort of wander around, look at art, listen to music, drink wine, get food from food trucks, and general merriment.
Overpriced pizza. You know, just
It's good though.
Yeah.
good.
So he'll have we're putting up a small exhibit of his work to support the screening as well. And the film is directed by Sandra Adair. She'll be in attendance for the screening and will be available for a Q&A. Sandra is, by trade, predominantly an editor and has been the editor for almost all, if not all, of Richard Linklater's films. Mm-hmm. And this is her first film as a director.
Okay.
So she'll be here to...
It'll be interesting to hear her talk about that dynamic of going from cutting films to then being the one that has to get her stuff cut.
Right. Yeah, no doubt.
It's a different thought process and different feeling. And then we're ending that night with the Lubbock premiere of the Bobby Keys documentary. And for those of you that don't know, Bobby Keys was the longtime saxophonist for the Rolling Stones. Traveled the world with the Rolling Stones, recorded with the Rolling Stones for many years, from just down the road in Slayton. That's where he was born. So it's a local story about a musical legend who passed away last year, I believe. And so Lubbock audiences are going to get to see this film for the first time and I think they'll be really excited about it. And then after that is a concert by Joe Ely, who is another Lubbock music legend and is prominently featured throughout the film, talking about Bobby Keys and their relationship. So it's a great lineup. It kind of fits all those things we were talking about, very local. There's music, art, which is one of the missions of Luca. And so I'm really excited about this year. I think this is a premier lineup of what we always hope to do. Mm-hmm. You know, every year is different, and every time you're stepping into that programming role, you're hoping everything lines up. And for some reason this year, it just feels like we just have a great lineup ready to go.
This is also... what about the student film still lineups and like the series of short films that I don't know when that is going to be?
That's Friday night.
That's Friday night?
Yeah, at Alamo Draft House.
Okay. So with that in mind, like, what do you kind of expect Flatland to be in like in the future? Like, what are like your expectations for it? Like, what do you want to do with it?
Well, just real quick I don't want to correct you, but you said student film lineup.
Well, student films and as
well,
well as others.
I want to say this, that it's short film directors, and we just have students who are so good here that their films are included.
Well, yeah,
it is in no way student.
No, I understand.
Yeah,
like student films.
We
like,
program it based on quality, and we just have some really great students here who are doing good enough work that we feel confident in screening it. Mm-hmm. That's just a shout out to our Texas Tech students because they do remarkable work. Mm-hmm. They're alongside international filmmakers, and so it's a kudos to their work. But to your question, which was
What do you
the
kind
future
of
of the
expect
Oh,
the Flatland?
Rob,
like,
you take it. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
You know, I think we sort of think about that probably like the day after every festival.
okay, we'll bring her back then like next week.
You know, I mean, I think we both have a general desire to see the festival grow. I mean, I think we're always going to be, to some extent, a product of the environment that we're in. It's not like we're going to just turn around, you know, next year and suddenly it's going to be South by Southwest or something. You know, we're part of a community that can support a certain size of film festival. For me, at least, the key is to not worry so much about how big the festival is or how many days or how many films, but always just to focus on the quality of the programming and the capacity for the festival to support that filmmaker community and to grow that filmmaker community here in Lubbock. Because once you establish that community and grow that community, the festival will get bigger on its own. Or more robust, or it'll improve in whatever way it improves, to the degree that the community around film in the city or town that supports it also improves.
Yeah, you think about the idea that a film festival is asking a lot of an audience. You're asking them to come and discover films that they've never even heard about, with, you know, in a lot of time, you know, if you're not South by Southwest or Sundance, with actors you've never heard of, by directors who don't have a name for themselves, and short films and challenging films and abstract and documentary. And so Rob's absolutely right. We talk a lot about, we need to build a community that trusts us, that when they say Flatland, they can come and see some really remarkable work. And so it's a two-way street. They have to trust us, but we have to put something together that they can believe in and really know that they're going to get something entertaining out of it and enjoy it and have a good time. And so we're working on that, and I think that's what we'd like to see, is just that continue to grow.
All right. Okay, so taking it back to the present, can you give like a shout out, like in terms of like, you guys say you're in like need of like volunteers and stuff like that, and like kind of the ticket pricing and just like those specifics of that.
Sure, yeah.
Before we close it.
Yeah, absolutely. So badges for the whole festival are $35 for the whole festival. Student badges are $10.
Okay.
And if you divide that out, even at $35, I mean, I don't know how many films or events we just named, but it's way, I mean, it probably averages out to like $4 a film.
That's one Blu-ray disc.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and if you're a student, I mean, it's even a better deal. That said, we're always interested in volunteers. I actually just sent out an email.
Is there a way we can contact?
You certainly can contact me directly or Paul, but the email address that we gave is for Jacob Reynolds, who's at Luca, Jakob Reynolds at luca.org.
Yeah.
Is there like any social media you want to like, or websites you want to promote?
Yeah, flatlandfilm.org is our website. It's got all the films listed. It's got the schedule up. There should be a ticket link or a badge link there. We're going to be selling badges. We're going to have tables in the free speech area the week of the festival. We'll be selling badges at a couple of other events that we've got coming up, and we'll be at First Friday Art Trail as well. So you should hopefully see lots of Flatland over the next couple of weeks leading up to the festival.
All right, that's great. Well, that's all I have to ask. Thank you guys for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's all we have for today. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Share the video to everyone you know. And as always, this is M. Rubio, and I'll see you guys next time.